Here, all right, the applicants are here, so. All right, so this is the opening of the zoning board of appeals of Rutland, Mass, July 10th, 2024, 6 p.m. meeting. This is available online at meeting ID 822-5997-9510. First item, well, I'll just introduce the board. Arthur Wells, Jake Morris, Bush Nato, Bob Paulson, the vice chair, is running a little late. I'm Chris Senecal, the chair, Tamika Murphy, the secretary, and Peter Crane is the guy online doing everything, running the meeting there. So the first thing up today is the acceptance of the meeting minutes from June 5th, 2024. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as prepared?
So moved.
Arthur, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Jake. Any discussion on the notes to change anything? Everything look good?
Looked good to me.
All right, so, we'll take a, all in favor of accepting the minutes as prepared?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, abstain, one abstain, three aye, no nays, so here you go, Tamika, it passes. Next up on the agenda is a continuing of a public hearing for Branded Realty Group II LLC, AKA Dunkin' Donuts at 255 Main Street. They have an application in for a site plan modification. This is a continued hearing from June 5th. And just to go over with everybody, we've received some new information over the last week or so. I know the applicant sent in some revised plans last Wednesday, just before the holiday. And then earlier this week, I believe. And also Kevin Quinn, the town's engineer, sent a couple memos out this week. And just to kind of talk about Kevin's memos, he sent one, I believe, on Monday, after he reviewed the plans that were submitted on July 3rd. I called Kevin just to kind of guide his review, just to keep it on the up and up here, because Kevin wasn't at the June, that last meeting, June 5th. So I think he was Kevin was kind of assuming a complete set of plans were coming. And so he might have expressed a little disappointment that not all the calculations were there. But I had said, no, we kind of talked with the applicant that we're just trying to get the footprint right. So just focus on that, Kevin. And that's why his second memo came out, just kind of homing in on that, and he lightened up on the calculations this time. So, and I told him that they would come once we got this kind of figured out. All right. So that's kind of the backdrop where we were. If you guys remember, we were talking about the traffic and the plan and whatnot. So I think at this time, we'll just turn it over to the applicant and let him explain the new plans.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Patrick Healy. I'm a civil engineer with Thompson Liston Associates. With me is Matt Doyle. He's actually the applicant. I'm not the applicant. Pursuant to our discussion at the last meeting, we rearranged the site so we have the one directional traffic flow pattern. So we have an entrance driveway here with 2 lanes coming in, one dedicated to the drive-through and one for the bypass, and to allow the other customers to park up on this part of the lot. We added the painted crosswalk that we talked about. I've carried through the grading plan, like detailed out the retaining walls and all those kinds of things that were kind of left hanging after the last meeting until we had decided which way to go with this. Right, and since then we have completed our stormwater calculations. I've submitted those. We have an appointment with the Conservation Commission next week. You know, that the stormwater is under their jurisdiction, so I'm hoping you'll defer to them on that issue. But as far as the layout, the parking spaces, and the traffic pattern, yeah, I'd be happy to answer any specific questions you might have. But you know, after our last meeting, it was pretty clear that the board preferred this layout, so this is the one we pursued. So we did the full grading plan. We adjusted our elevations on our stormwater pipes. We graded through this area here where the previous drive-through lane was located. So that'll be a landscape strip now. I got the revised landscape plan today from my landscape architect and forwarded that. I've got that here, so you can see in that strip between the building and the driveway, we're going to end up with that slope there. That will all be landscaped with shrubs in there. We're planting some shrubs up in this area to kind of add a little privacy to the building across the street. And then this also shows the limit of the fence and the guardrail going here.
What type of fencing guardrail is that, Patrick?
So at the top of the retaining wall, we're required to have a fence to prevent anyone from falling off, so that'll be a chain link type fence.
6 foot?
I think we have it detailed as 5 foot, but I can check on that.
And then on the back, is that a chain link as well, or is that just a like guardrail?
Actually, sir, it's not a chain link fence, it's a more of a decorative type fence.
Like a PVC style or something?
Yeah, well, actually, that's the dumpster enclosure, so that one's about 8 feet tall. So at the retaining wall, we have a 4 foot tall chain link fence. That's what I'm currently showing. So that's here along this side of the retaining wall. And right at this corner, you can see a double line there. And then there's a guardrail that comes around the parking to prevent the cars from approaching the steep slope. So we did end up losing 1 or 2 parking spaces, but I think in light of the better traffic pattern, we had more spaces than what the zoning requires, so we still have adequate parking. As we talked about at the last meeting, the nature of the business has changed somewhat. We're seeing a larger percentage of sales go out the drive-through window rather than people come in and sit down at the tables.
And when you say you've lost parking spaces, that's not from what's current?
No, sir.
It's just from your original, your other proposed
From the
plan?
previous proposed
Just wanna
plan.
make
So
sure
there are two
that's
less.
clarified for the record.
There are 2 less spaces shown on this plan than were shown previously. We angled the parking spaces on
Yeah,
this
which we
side
knew, we talked
to
about
make
that.
the aisle wider and to, let people know
I think that's better.
indirectly that it's a one-way traffic.
Yeah. The one handicap, that's enough for the amount of spaces, correct? Is that correct?
Yes, we're required to provide 1 for 25 spaces, so that meets the requirement. So in this area back here, we have the underground stormwater system. I'm looking now at sheet 5, the grading plan. So that's a little bit larger because we now have more impervious area coming down on this side of the building that we're collecting.
The slope on the graded, behind the parking there in the back, that slope, what would it, is that like about a 2-to-1 slope?
It's about 2.5 to 1. So 2.5 horizontally, 1 vertically, so that's about 40%.
It's not that steep.
You could walk up it. Might be a little uncomfortable mowing, but we're not expecting that slope to be mowed regularly. Might be mowed twice a year or something just to keep the trees from growing into it.
On the retaining walls, what's the drop off, Patrick, on the, on the outside of those walls? What are we looking at as a elevation change? I couldn't really.
At the highest point, it's about 12 feet, right in this corner.
12 feet.
So here, a driveway sloping up in this direction, and then we have the slope coming up this way. So right at this
there.
point, that's our highest point. So from this point here, you'll see this driveway sloping up, the existing ground sloping down.
So you're about
Get to this
11,
point, that's the greatest difference right there.
53 to 63. Yeah, it's not as good as it used to be.
So I have the finished grade on the top
83?
is 1190 and at the bottom it's 1177.5. So 12.5 feet.
And I see 1186 at the end of the wall, so is that pretty much both sides of the wall? Is that at 1186? Is that right?
Sorry, I'm not seeing that one. On this end of the wall?
I'm on drawing C3.
Okay. little grayed out on this one, let's see.
Do you mind if I get closer so that I could see that I'm in a butter?
One second, yeah.
Right at this end of the wall, sir, it's 1186.5 and 1188.5, so that's one large block
Okay.
tall.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's where we start the wall. Then when we get up to this point, it's 12.
so it's basically a 2 to 12
So
foot.
these are about 2 foot blocks.
2 foot
large,
blocks, yeah.
Like 2 foot by
2 by
4
4s,
foot blocks that are stacked up.
Yeah,
Uh,
interlock.
and the fill's brought up with the wall as it's built.
Okay.
And then at this end of the wall, we end up with only half a block buried here at the end. Where we have, the natural grade, and then we have the steep slope coming down,
Ties back in.
ties back in at that point. Then up at this corner, Mr. Chair, there's also a little wall here
Yes, that one too, yeah.
to help us make up the grade at that corner, where we're kind of locked in by the grade at the existing lane here.
Yeah, yeah.
Bring that up at a 2.5 to 1 slope, and then by bringing this plane across for the parking, we're left with like a 3 foot wall.
Put it right up.
Right around that
Yes,
corner.
sir, Patrick, do you mind if he just comes up?
No, it's fine.
Like, jump up in
You can
front.
come up even closer
If you wanna sit down and take a
to
look at
look
it.
directly at.
Yeah.
I've got a number of questions.
We'll open it up to the public in a little bit, okay? And, let's just hear from
Well,
the,
thank you.
hear from the engineer first, yeah. Just so maybe he'll answer some of your questions beforehand, All right, so I'm sorry, Patrick, so on the back side of that wall, what's the highest? Yeah, how, is that,
Up at this corner here, it's, the top is at 1190 and the bottom's 1188.5, so it's only 2.5, 3 feet.
it's not too bad.
I'm sorry, 1.5 to 2 feet. So we just have like one block partially buried, coming out at that corner to support that last couple of parking spaces.
And then that has the 4-foot chain link on top of it. As the other one. So, are you guys, any issue with 4 feet? Where it gets up to 12 feet, it's a little,
Yeah, I mean, I'll sort of take
I'm not
your
gonna lie, I'm a little
lead.
concerned about when you start getting up over 8 feet. 6 to 8 feet, then it's a pretty good drop. Coming over a fence, a 4-foot fence, that's a 10-foot drop on a 6-foot differential, and on a 12-foot differential, that's 16 foot. If a kid climbs the fence and
Yeah, right,
you can get over a 4-foot fence pretty easy. Normally, you like to sit a little taller in that area. 4 foot in that other corner is fine, and I don't know if you step it up or something, I don't know. I don't wanna make a jail out of the place either,
Chain links aren't very
They're
attractive.
not, it's not a,
Yeah,
and did you say if it's chain link or?
It's black vinyl coated chain link,
Black
so
vinyl.
the black tends to sort of blend in with the background.
Yeah.
It doesn't look,
Doesn't have the slats in it,
galvanized or anything. No,
it's just black
just
chain
be
link.
black. Right.
Black coated.
I think if a kid's gonna climb a 4-footer, he's gonna climb a
On the 6
6-footer.
footer, yeah.
I think it's just good to have it so someone doesn't mistakenly trip over it.
Fall off, yeah, it
Yeah.
keeps
Yeah.
an
Not on
accidental
the
fall.
Walking backwards. or
Yeah,
something.
4 foot is fine for an accidental,
Yeah.
Yep,
Because that wall's over, say, 6 feet tall, it needs a building permit, so the building code would apply, and that requires that we put a fence on it. And the minimum fence height is 48 inches.
that's the minimum building requirement, yeah. Okay, thank you. All right. How many cars get in the queue based on this plan, Patrick? If it was all the way out to the roadway, like, to Route 56?
Let me see if I have the distance on here, can answer that for you.
And just while he's calculating that, I'll just mention to the board, one of my concerns is if we, my concern is getting as many cars in the queue on their property to reduce that issue with on the roads, right? Keeping in mind that I'm all for this new one way in, one way out, right? And the locations of them on the site, the in being on the west side and the out being on the east side. But again, I think as just to recap from last meeting real quickly, that does create a new dynamic traffic problem for cars stopping in front of the southbound 56 lane. They will not be able to just automatically take a left because previously cars stopped up here, so they could always go eastbound, coming out of the 56, going 56 south to continue south or east on 122.
Yeah, you're sort of trading
Or north, I say.
one issue for another in a way, but
Correct. Correct,
I
and
don't know what
so,
else you can do.
so personally, I'm just like, all right, let's get as many cars into that queue as possible,
That might
okay?
help.
And in doing so, if we were to have them build a retaining wall back here to push the parking and make the queue longer, if it just goes another 15, 20 feet, that's another 2 to 3 cars in the queue. So I'm just curious to see how many you have in this queue right now.
So from the back of sidewalk here to the drive-through lane, I got about 13 cars.
What do they have now? When you're coming in?
What's the
I
existing
don't
queue?
know how many
Is
do
that
you
about
think fit in
11?
there now? Possibly 10, it's really tight to the building now.
Yeah, total from the window all the way around, yeah, probably no more than 10.
In front of the building?
Yeah, when you go from window, there's only a 3-car stack there now, and you go beyond it, it's probably 5 more cars.
But the new
Maybe-
setup
It may
not
be
only-
like 8, 9 cars, that's it.
The
to
new setup not
front.
only takes more cars, but it moves faster, the way it's set up.
Real fast, yeah.
That's right, we made the case at the first
Yeah.
hearing. that
Yeah,
the whole
having a
idea-
6-car, 5 or
With
6
a
car.
5-car, you could put more throughput through a drive-through, yeah. You stage more orders.
The idea is to serve more customers per hour. But this also has the advantage of having the full bypass lane. So that if this car lane is backed up to here, other cars can come through and park and go into the store, where currently you can't do that. Unless it's,
You can do that, you can,
Just go in and
I
take.
guess,
Yeah.
I guess
Just go
you
straight in.
could, you could go past, but you only have 10 cars, there. So now you'll have 13 or 14.
Even, yeah.
so I just wanted to bring that up, that if it was, something we could request of the applicants and the engineer to, slide it back another, again, 15, 20 feet, so like a parking car length space, that gets you a couple more in the queue. I just kinda wanted your opinion on it, I don't know, I'm kinda 50-50 myself personally, I'm not really set on it. Again, I'm just trying to get all the cars off the state roads there, the main roads, into that queue line as possible. And I know that adds a cost to this project, and I know, but I wanna do what's best for the town and, what's best for the growth of this site right now, because they ain't gonna grow it anymore. What we do now is pretty much, I don't know how if you don't build that retaining wall someday, I don't know how you get more cars in here in the queue, so.
Our standards for designing the Dunkin's drive-throughs are to have 10 to 11 cars, and this one has 13, so, it is 15, 20% greater than we would normally provide.
That's a
I
good
think the
point.
speed through is almost
Just as
more important, sort of characteristic, but. And I guess you guys can sort of calculate in some fashion that they will move faster through with this whole new, setup.
Yeah, they seem pretty
sounded like
certain,
it.
yeah, they study that.
Well, as Matt was telling you at the first hearing, everything's measured by the time from the order to the service window, and his organization has one of the best rates going, so.
And one way in and one
Their
way
goal
out.
is to get more customers through every hour.
It's just a lot smoother than it is now too, as far as traffic goes. Cause like you said, if the drive-through is full and someone doesn't wanna wait in the drive-through and they wanna park, they have to go around the people that are waiting in the drive-through, and some people are still trying to get out. Now, that problem's solved with this.
Yeah, you don't landlock a
No,
car.
yeah, right.
Yeah, you don't landlock anybody from having to wait.
Now, what about when you have deliveries? Cause I know up there in the morning when you have that big truck up there, it makes it difficult too.
Well,
So
by doing what we're doing,
Right.
I think I mentioned, it helps us go down a once-a-week delivery. So then we're trying to, like all the way down 122, we're trying to get rid of a tractor trailer once a week. It's not just this store, it's other stores. We're in Tacnic Square now, we're putting an addition on so we can carry more product. So we can put more units in one delivery instead of bringing a tractor trailer in for 2 and splitting it up. So it helps a lot.
And I think, I'm sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
I was gonna say, having the wider lane on this side also allows
thank
that truck to pull in and traffic can still get past it.
Yeah, that's just what I was gonna say, we angled the parking spaces, so there's almost technically like 2 travel lanes there, tight, but, if a guy was there, if he was snug up to the drive-through, you could still get in and around him. So if you guys don't feel we need the retaining wall, if you think this is sufficient, I mean,
I think this does a lot already.
I'm not gonna harp on it. The only other thing I'd like to discuss is we've got the painted sidewalk for people coming from the angled sides. How do people, pedestrians from the back, park and access the front of the building to enter it? And I was thinking, with this landscape plan, I was thinking there might be a walkway down the old drive-through side, or the old travel lane to the drive-through. Now that there's some grass there, I mean, people just take the path of least resistance. It's like water and lightning and everything else, right? They're just gonna go where the hell they want, I'm gonna be flat out honest with you. But I think it's our job to try to create some type of pathway and protection so that drivers acknowledge that this is where people walk across. People, if they don't walk across there, well, then it's their life, it's their legs, do what you wish. But at least we're doing our homework here and diligence to make it. So what do you suggest for that flow?
Well, I would point out, Mr. Chair, that the 6 cars at the back would be where the employees would park.
Yeah.
Because they're least convenient for customers. So they would be showing up, early in the morning before the rush, and it shouldn't be an issue for them.
Okay.
We do have that crosswalk painted here so anyone parking that can see that side will see the safe place to cross.
Pretty much on your own coming from the corner there. I mean, be faster. I mean, listen, people are distracted, they're on their phones and they're on their phones doing 85 down the highway, let alone the drive-through stop, waiting to order. I mean, it's very difficult to protect people from themselves today, but still we gotta do our best. And,
I would offer that a walk would make the most sense at the front of these spaces, but people won't use it because it's
Yeah.
not in the direct line of walking.
I would agree,
So-
Patrick, yeah, it's an idea, yeah. I mean, do you have some type of crosswalk along the bottom, even though there are parked cars there, but would those people walk down along there and then,
To where though?
well, if we had a walkway coming up this side of the building, right here, and then like a painted sidewalk here, so that if you park anywhere here, you come down here and go in. I mean, I'm not crazy about letting people walk up this way with drive-through and cars coming around. That's the hot corner. And there's nowhere for them to go.
Is that's behind the
walking.
building right
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
But that's employee parking, right?
Well,
Or that's public?
there's
as
6
well?
employees and the rest is public.
Oh, it is, okay.
There's an existing right-of-way through there, been there forever.
Didn't we talk about this right away at some point?
I don't remember that. In favor of.
To get out to Fairview Ave,
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but
It's been there forever.
the grade is too steep though to navigate that, and then it's so, Fairview is so tight to this, it'd be
I think Dick
brutal.
Williams might have run that, brought
We
that.
did, we discussed that at one of the first meetings, and, it really was not advantageous for any way for this site. We could, as a group and as engineers could review, but thank you though.
But what I'm concerned about is, number one, I'd like to see them continue with what they're doing, because people don't go in for donuts anymore, they pull up and get them and leave. I have an acquaintance that has a lot of units, and that's what happened to him, he had to change everything around. So the outcome of it is I don't have a problem with that. I would have a problem with noise and fumes.
Hold on one second. I did not open this up to the public right now.
Okay,
So-
so then I won't say anymore.
We'll get to you. I promise we'll give you time, and when we do, just say your name and address and everything for Tamika in the record. But thank you for the comment about the Fairview access, but we did talk about that. Okay, so pedestrian thing, I don't know how crazy we are on that. I mean, I don't know what to
So
do.
make sure the staff park at the end quarter and people park there. You know,
Yeah, that's a good point. Move the 6 parking over there and then put public here,
yep,
and then just have them come down that.
then go right down that side and around the
Yeah,
front.
you just put a little
That's a
sign
good
or
idea.
something,
Yeah.
of X
You know.
spaces or
I'm
snapping.
not even worried about that.
That's not a
back
bad
corner.
idea, Butch.
But it'd have to be mandatory parking for the,
Is that something you'd be amenable to?
Which spaces are we talking about?
So coming off that corner there,
Yeah.
Patrick, make those 6 the workers' parking spaces, and then,
Rather than these 6?
Right.
correct, and then navigate those people on that lower section
go around to the
around
front.
to the front with a walkway along that side of the building.
On this side of the building?
Correct.
This is where we're now lowering the driveway and creating a slope. So that's reflected on the grading plan.
So you're saying that a walkway on that side would not really be advisable because of the slope?
Or not doable. Right? Like it.
We didn't consider that possibility.
You know,
when-
I-
You just put it,
understand.
you just put a, 4 or 5 steps gets you up to that grade right there. I know you're talking, I see the slope right here, you're talking about. And I'm on C3 again?
So at this end, we're filling this ground all the way out from here to the edge of the park. Right, but on this side, where this driveway is coming in, we're cutting this down next to the building and sloping it down to the driveway. Where now there's a drive-through lane, now it's gonna be, 4 or 5 feet lower, there's gonna be a slope in here. That's what I was trying to point out. So between the building here and the edge of driveway, we're dropping down with the slope, and that would be landscaped under the current scenario.
I don't see that on any of these drawings, but I understand what you're saying.
So that's what, Mr. Chair, this grading plan is showing. If you look at the spot right here at 1191 at the front building corner, and this is 1188 down here. So if I could point that out on your plan.
I only see these grade lines right
So
here.
here, this point, this is.
That's way back here,
That's
though.
1191 at the front of the building,
Yeah, and what's
and
in,
this is 1188. So I'm dropping down from
it's 3 feet
91
right
to
there,
88.
but it's 3 feet all the way along this whole, I mean, that's pretty much flat the whole way there. Well, we gotta have something for the pedestrians for the back lot, because you just can't, I'm not comfortable with them just going through the parking lot like this with no, I mean, there's no signage, there's nothing telling them, directing them, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's your responsibility to direct these people and give them a fair pathway to get to the front of the entrance, or add an entrance on this backside over here somewhere closer. I just don't think that people should have to walk through 2 lanes of traffic without a crosswalk or some type of means of getting there. I don't know. That's my opinion right now. I
We're
don't know
not
what the board
asking for
says.
another entrance, we're just asking for access to the front entrance.
Yeah,
I agree with Chris, if we can do some kind of a walkway, even though it's a little slope right next to the building, they can bring us right into the front with a crosswalk going from the back corner of these spaces, I think that would.
What do you think of that? To go down that side? Yeah, we could.
I'm just, like I said, that back makes me nervous too. I like if we can move those, you would have no problem moving your people to the far corner, right?
I mean, the existing parking right there right now is full sometimes.
Yeah.
On the weekends, and
They do
people
have a
are
crosswalk
parking
there.
in the back somehow, they used to kind of single park there, double park, whatever. So there's
That's
something,
possible.
there's something like that that could kind of mitigate that.
I would see better.
And then do you guys think there needs to be any kind of like stop lanes or look, like signage for people to stop and look for pedestrians or something coming out of the drive-through? I just got a general note of signage here.
Yeah.
For any type of,
Well, if they put the crosswalk here, they can put a sign outside, watch for pedestrians.
yeah, something small like
Yeah.
that. Nothing crazy, but just something to try to remind people to, as they're driving up that drive-through, watch for pedestrians,
Okay, that's
And,
fair.
So, and then leaving the drive-through after you get, again, you gotta come out of there. Sometimes they come out of there like it's Epping Dragway, trying to beat someone to get to the right lane. Cause that's a little dicey there now. It's 2 lanes now. It's not just the one, so, you're gonna be, if you're trying to take a right there, you're gonna be hustling to get position. So, just something to remind them to look for pedestrians. I don't think we have to get much too crazy, you're not looking with traffic lights or anything like that,
Sure.
Just something to give it our best college try here, Any other comments or anything about what I've said? I mean, I'm just looking for input from you guys. I'm not trying to tell them what to do. I want to be a board voice, not just me, but just giving some things to think about and consider.
All the changes they made, I think, are awesome.
I do, it's a,
I think there's been a lot of thought into it, and I think it's been rewritten a couple times, so,
yeah,
that would be all I would have.
been pounded to death pretty good,
You
yeah.
know, I don't think we could ask any more.
I think it squeezed too much more out, he said. Any other comments or questions before we open it up to the public?
For me.
My only, my largest issue has always been the traffic mitigation. I think this plan probably is better with a 1 way in, 1 way out. I don't know, I mean, we don't know, so, but I don't know. It's no good, it's not good the way it is right now, I mean, I guess I could say that, so,
I think it can only make it better. My opinion.
right.
Are you saying like you think we should have a traffic study out there?
No, I mean, unless the full board felt that, I mean, has Kevin Quinn made any comments as the third-party engineer about traffic itself?
Kevin, in talking with him, he's certainly in favor of this one way in, one way out design.
For traffic.
He's all in favor of this plan like this. He can't tell us if it's gonna make the traffic problem go away.
No, I don't
You
think
know,
it's ever gonna.
and I don't even know if a study's gonna do that, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm just saying he would have some insight deeper than I would, or
Yeah.
us, maybe, well, at least me, and
You know.
so if he feels it's got a chance to do that.
Well, I mean, Kevin really stressed to me the point that, and we all know it, the gentleman Matt, the Dunkin' Donuts, they run the numbers, they got the information. In getting more cars, we got more cars in the queue here, and the 5 car to, order.
Well, that makes sense, I mean,
It's
to
gonna
me,
move faster and you got more in the queue, so there's no doubt it's gonna be a lot better, as Jacob just said. So that's all we know,
No, right,
that's all we know, and I don't see anything better than what this is, other than making that retaining wall go back another 15-20 feet, just pushing the parking lot back. And getting 2 more, 3 more cars in the queue. It's about the only way I can see bettering this plan. And so that question is this good enough, or is that needed?
I don't think I can say that one way or the other, if our engineer is on board, I mean, I don't think I can.
Yeah, he really,
Quarrel with that.
he didn't say one way or the other if he was in favor of traffic study. He really didn't think a traffic study was gonna do much other
No,
than
I
tell
don't
you.
mean that, I mean, if he thinks without a traffic study that this probably, could mitigate traffic, I'm just saying, that's good enough for me, I'm not gonna second guess the third-party engineer.
So I will tell you what he said to me, that this is the best plan you can come up with.
Okay.
So this is as good, I mean, what's a traffic study gonna tell us?
It's probably gonna tell us this has the best chance.
It's gonna tell us if the traffic's not good.
It's gonna tell us
It might-
it's
gonna get a
busy
little
in the
better.
morning and it's busy at 5.
I don't know that, so,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm 50-50 too, Art, I just don't know that the traffic study is really gonna give us this silver bullet solution to the traffic here.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure it's gonna tell you anything you don't already know about the site, right? It's an established location for Dunkin' Donuts. They're not going anywhere. Our clients have invested, so they're staying here for the long term. So that most of the traffic study will tell you is what you're seeing there today, is where the delays are during what hours.
I don't understand how
That's not gonna
that would
change.
be helpful.
If I was proposing this as a new project, I think it would make a lot of sense, because then we'd be changing, the use and the conditions, but that's not the case here.
And again, just to reiterate, the whole future peanut potential, rotary peanut here. The state highway has been talking to the town about.
they
making-
have,
They have, it's on a list of things, but the Four Corners intersection is the number one because there's most accidents there.
I agree.
So this one doesn't have a lot of accidents because the elevation kind of slows people down, Artie, and I think that doesn't make it as fast and dangerous, where Four Corners, they hustle through there pretty fast.
Well, it's also not, it's not a right angle
Exactly, that,
in any case, but.
we'll see, maybe we'll spice it up with this one.
What's
Get to the
the
number one
busiest
list.
time at this one? It's in the morning, right?
It's morning, yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably a
like
2 to 3 hour block maybe,
Most of them are,
and that's pretty much after that,
so, yeah,
so.
2 or 3 hour window.
Yep.
Hi, Bob. Welcome, thanks for getting here. So we just kind of discussed this layout, talked real quick about possibly building a retaining wall to extend this, but really no major reason. We might get a couple more cars in the queue, but we talked about having 13 cars in the queue right now compared to the 8 to 10 that the existing is. And then also, as Matt, the applicant stated, they only have 3 cars from order to pick up, now it's gonna be 5. So that speed allows a quicker turn through, so with another 3 to 5 cars in the queue and a much faster turn of cars getting through there, it should really help, it should help a tremendous amount.
How about the pedestrian walkway?
Great, so we talked about that, and we talked about a couple things about, originally Patrick discussed that these 6 spaces here would be for workers, and then the public would park here, but Butch came up with a great idea of flipping that and making this public parking, and then having a crosswalk here and a new walkway down to the front, to give them a fighting chance. Because over here, I mean, you're kind of in no man's land, you know, you get a better chance of Fallujah, I think, than over there. So, I'm just trying to give them, I mean, it's, you know, and I spoke to Kevin about pedestrians. He's like, Chris, even as you put in his memo, you can't control pedestrians. They do what they wanna do. Sometimes it's not even worth doing anything because they just do what they wanna do, but I'm not of that mindset. We don't do anything. I think, you know, as a zoning board in the town, we gotta try to give these people a proper pathway with a couple little signs as these people come through the drive-through. You know, watch out for pedestrians, you know, here and at the, you know, as you grab and go at the drive-through counter there. So just a couple things like that. I'm not trying to get crazy because people do what they wanna do, but at least there is a path there. If they follow it, they'll be reasonably safe. And I think that's fair. I think everybody can appreciate that, and it's certainly not gonna break the bank, and, but yet, you know, could save a couple kneecaps, so. So that's kind of the quick blow by blow. And that's, yeah, and then the 56 thing, the whole traffic pattern, you know, Artie,
No, I'm saying I've sort of heard what it is,
it's what it is.
is what it is.
Yeah, and I do think if that rotary peanut goes in there, the way we've got this set up where, you know, the entrance is on that, you know, that incoming side, we've got it set up the right way where people aren't gonna cross to get in and create another little rotary, you know, wild storm, you know, so people would flow right in and flow right out. So that would make things even better if that happened, you know, so. But that is a long ways away, but, you know, in 10 years from now, 15 years, the town grows. Hopefully your business continue doing well, and, you know, that'll solve the problem then, if there is an issue. Anything else for the board before I open it up to the public? No.
Not for me.
Any questions, you good? I'm good. All right, so at this time, sir, if you'd like to state your name and,
Yeah, Ronald Papirski. And,
what's your address?
I live in 2 or 3 different places, but, 261 Main Street, 1R is one.
Well, that's good.
I keep that. I grew up in the town, and I've been around it a long time. And as far as moving cars to the rear, you really can't because of there's water problems. And they've done some digging, and they were trying to find out what they were gonna do with water and whatnot. I don't have any problem with that, but that is a right-of-way through there. And it's been there forever. And so basically, I don't see how you could block that up. You know, I don't want it, and I'm part of the right-of-way through there. The other thing that concerns me is the fact of it has nothing to do with them either. Somebody has plugged up all the drains, and they're supposed to be open. And it's the water that goes from there.
What drains, can you be specific, sir?
On the back of this property, there are drains, but when you go further than that, there aren't. And somebody has plugged them up way further, like to the end of my property, which is way down there, and they own that much going that way. And there's a water problem. I would have done something before now, but I just finally have a tree ready to come down, and I went and looked. And I didn't want to go cutting anything down before I got a hold of the town and other people to make them aware that they've eliminated a drain. And recently to do this construction, I guess, and they were decent about it. I had no problems with them. I went up and asked them what they were doing. They told me, and they were good with the way they did it.
When you say them, who are you referring to doing
The people
construction?
who were working for the Duncan people that own the property.
The guys that knocked down the house?
No, that guy has nothing to do with it. These people are actually people that do that for a living. They were digging out and finding about how to get rid of the water. But what was also happening is, since that's a right-of-way that I use, if you're bringing other stuff into it, that's gonna cut back on that right-of-way. And I'm the guy that principally plows it. Nobody else seems to do it. We've been doing it for years. basically boils down to the fact, if there's a water problem and it gets worse, it's gonna be really bad. And I know that they don't want that to happen. You know, I had somebody, we used to refine oil and use it for heat. And I stopped doing it when the guy that did it was not gonna be there anymore, and I couldn't find anybody that was competent. And so basically what happened is I had a discussion with him about it too, and he mentioned that it looked like people had been putting stuff down, further down. And it's supposed to be an open drain and run down, and it goes where the Jewish sand used to be, it's now the school. And the water is the side of that and going down. It looks like that's still open, but the rest of it isn't, and it's supposed to be open all the way down to the lake.
So I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but your concern is that this project will create a water flow problem?
Yes. And the other thing that I'm concerned about is the fact with all these cars coming in, obviously you're gonna have more fumes if they're sitting there waiting to get out. I'd like to find out with that gentleman exactly, from my property line, where is this gonna be? And are they putting anything in to eliminate the noise and the smog and whatnot from it?
Patrick, would you like to address those questions about the noise and potential smog issue?
I'm not sure there's much I could do to answer those questions. I can't answer the questions about the stormwater. I can tell you that the
Not those, I'm just talking, this gentleman just said, when cars are in the drive-through, he's concerned about the noise of those cars. And he's concerned about, potential smog. Is there anything you wanna say to that?
I can tell you there's an existing drive-through there today, Mr. Chairman, and it's moving, one lane over from where it is today. So is it getting closer to the property line? Yes. We're not increasing.
Basically, one drive line closer.
Correct.
But you do have, on this landscape plan, you do have all these trees going in now, correct?
Yes, we are.
Have you seen this plan? Yes. I'm gonna think about, it's still hot this is still hot.
It's hot off the press, yes. Did I see it?
Sure.
So
right
we
there.
are proposing to put some trees and shrubs there where the house was taken down to kind of fill in the gap there.
And then there's also shrubs in front of that, is it in front or behind the retaining wall? In front of the retaining wall,
There are
correct?
some at the top of the retaining wall.
On the rear retaining wall, what is it? They're actually bringing it in. You're making it not as wide by a factor of about 15 or 20 feet.
In what respect?
In respect to the fact that the guy that was there doing the thing to find out whether there'll be a water problem down there, they're gonna have to do something with that. And he was very knowledgeable. And essentially what happened is he pointed out what was happening, and I told him, I didn't know it at the time, or I would have told him that I have a tree that's broke and it's ready to come down, so I went down there and I went looking it over before I started cutting. I'd like to survive the whole thing. And
Sure, let's stay on point to the question that we were talking about as far as the,
I'm trying to.
the shrubs. He was explaining the shrubs to you
Yeah.
and the trees. And,
Well, I still haven't got my answer back, though. I'd like to know
I
how
know,
close it is to
and
my
that's why
property
I'm asking you
line.
just to slow down talking and give him a moment to talk, that's all I'm saying. Okay?
So if I could point out, this line here is what we understand to be the property line.
Yeah.
So the retaining wall is 1 foot inside the property. As I mentioned, the height of that goes from 2 feet up to 12 feet. At the top of that, there's a fence, and there are some bayberry shrubs being planted here at the top of the retaining wall. Then over here, there are some
From the property line, how far is that?
the shrubs.
Yeah. No, everything from my
So the
property line.
retaining wall is about 1 foot inside the property line. So it's set back 1 foot from the property line.
Yeah.
It goes up about,
Yeah.
2 to 12 feet. There are shrubs going in at the top. And then here, where the house was taken down, there's a number of larger shrubs going in here. Just trying to find what species those are. there's 3 blue spruces going in here,
Cherry,
some white spruces, and some cherry. Chinese dogwood, so those are flowering trees, these are evergreens, so we'll create some privacy when those start maturing.
But it's not gonna get rid of the noise.
it'll certainly mitigate.
Current, I had to put in one, when they were like they were before, and they're gonna be further away now. Now they're gonna be closer, and it's not a question of the trees and whatnot, in my opinion, it's a question of the noise and fumes. I don't see how that's gonna be worse.
I don't see how it's any different, sir. So there's a drive-through lane here currently, it's moving here 10 feet closer. So it's not significantly
Is it 10
different.
feet, is there a 10 feet difference between the property line and where this is happening or what?
Yes. So what I said, there's a
Yeah.
drive-through lane here
Yeah.
currently, right, we're moving it over here. It's
Yeah.
about 10 feet closer to the property line,
Yeah.
and it's lower, because this is sloping up from the street here up to grade.
Where is
Where
the?
currently, it's all up at the building level.
Where is the rear? Is this the rear?
This is Main Street
Yeah,
here.
okay, so this is the rear.
Yes,
This is what I'm talking about. You're taking another
Yeah.
5 or 6 feet on
Right.
both sides out right here.
All right, listen, I just want all the comments and questions to come through the chair here.
Okay, well then I'll do
And,
that. We were
I just
having a
wanna-
conversation. I didn't think there was anything harmful about it.
Well, I think the conversation's kinda getting a little wild here, it's just not really, we wanna stay on a point. If you have a particular question, we wanna hear the question, we just don't wanna be talking about rambling things. So, just for the sake of everybody's time, and getting to the
What
point.
I've been asking are questions that affect my property,
So you asked a question about,
and he's been helpful
Sound.
in doing that.
that's
And,
correct.
and sound, the closer the sound is to the location, the more noisy it is.
We just don't want you to have a cross-exam with the engineer who's here to help us all out. So if you ask the question through the chair, we're gonna do it that way, just.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, as long as it gets answered.
Well, we'll certainly try to answer it to the best that we can.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's to your liking, but we make no promises to that,
Yeah.
okay? The driveway is moving approximately 10 feet closer to your property. So will the noise go up a little bit? It probably will. We don't really have a metered device to show you and tell you how much that is. And as far as the fumes go, I mean, I really don't know what to say about that. Traffic out there on the street would affect fumes near your property. You know, we've moved the parking further back in the back, so even though there's, you know, I don't think there's any more cars close to your property line now than there ever will be or ever has been. So I don't really see the fumes being any worse for you as far as, you know, the quantity that was there now and the quantity that would affect you. You know, that distance is the same
Do you have
distance.
any expertise in that line of work, or?
Sir, I'm gonna ask you to sit down, okay? And if you're gonna voir dire me, okay, as the
No,
chairman here,
I'm just curious.
I'm trying to
I
explain
think you're
something to
making a
you.
mistake.
Okay, if you
don't
wanna
wanna
hire
do
an
it.
engineer to come in here and
Yeah.
question this, feel free.
Yeah.
That's your right, you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, but please don't question me when I'm trying to answer your question. Again, if I don't answer
Why
to
are
your
you afraid of
satisfaction,
answering a question?
sir, I answered your question. Why you want an answer I can't give you? I don't know that, answer to that question, okay? So please have a seat right now, sir, okay? Or I'm gonna ask you to leave the room, okay?
Well, I don't think that I should be asked to leave the room either.
I'm just asking you to sit
Is
down,
this a
please, okay?
democracy?
This is a zoning board hearing, I'm asking you to sit down, please, okay? I'm not here to get into a fight with you, sir, okay? But you're
I
not
don't
really,
wanna fight, I just
but
like
you're not being
a
very
fairness.
reasonable when you question me on my ability to explain something to you,
Well,
okay?
I
If you come here to
figure-
argue with us, then
No,
that's not the
if
thing.
you know
to
a
do.
hell of a lot more than I do, I would have the benefit of
I
getting
didn't say I
that
knew any more than
information
you.
from
I'm trying to explain something to you logically. If you don't wanna be logical, then
I
please.
am logical, I said everything that makes
Okay,
sense.
enough. Now,
And your
that's all
name?
the answers you're getting to this question, unless the engineer has something else to add. Patrick, do you have anything else to add?
no, sir, I'm not an expert in air quality, so I can't add anything to that. I can just tell you that there's a drive-through lane there today, it is getting 10 feet closer. We're not proposing to expand the number of cars or anything, we're just trying to make it more convenient so we can move the cars through more quickly.
Thank you. You had a question about the water flow going through the back of the property. you mentioned something about clogged drains. Is this on their property, your property? What is that in regards?
It's not on my property any longer, I don't own that property, they do. And like I said, I don't have a problem with them doing what they're doing. Because it will improve the looks of the place, and it might actually make cars be less consuming of the space. Because if there's more that can go through at once, should slow down on the traffic count. And that's a problem right now. But there's a major problem with fumes and noise. You know, obviously, what I have is an apartment house, and people do not like noise there. If it's not gonna be any more noise than there was before, that's fine. But what's happened is since they own the property now, there's one less point of keeping the sound away. And it's being eliminated. And by making the rear area, by squeezing that in 10 feet, that's a significant amount. And and we have a right to use that, and it's been there forever. It's gonna affect the use of the property.
Okay,
So
is that-
basically, I'm concerned about the sound and the fumes and the lack of more space between my property and theirs. The other thing that's gonna happen, if you don't mind me continuing, is what's gonna happen is somebody has illegally plugged up everything that needs to be opened, and it's a drain. I haven't done that. I only found out about it when I went down there to cut a tree.
I don't know.
But I'm not satisfied.
Responsibility.
I'm not satisfied with the way you've treated me either.
Excuse me one second, please. Patrick, I'd just like to ask you a question. As far as, do you know of any
The
clogged
only work
drains?
that we did was test pits that he requested twice.
We have done the test
Conservation.
pits to prove out our stormwater
It's the only work we've
system.
done.
So we initially
Do you
did some.
know of any?
No.
What, are you saying these are pipes like coming out of the ground? I'm just trying to understand what this is.
What it is that it's been there forever because they had water problems.
But sir, I'm just trying to, is it a pipe coming out? Is it like what's clogged actually?
I don't know, I'm trying to tell you, from of my knowledge of it. What it is they just went and dug it all out, and then they put some posts in there to hold it from going around on corners, and it just runs all the way down, and it goes out and back of where the schools are now, that used to be a hospital, and it continues running, and it ends up down, right almost to where all the cars go by out down there.
Are you talking about what they dug when they were doing the test pits, or is this?
No, what they did a neat job, he knew what he was doing, he went in there, and I looked at what he did on the first one, and I went to do other things, cause it was being done so well. And I've done a lot of that because I've developed property. Essentially what happened is they were knowledgeable of what they were doing and made no bones about it, and they filled it in properly. I don't own the land that they filled in, but I'm right aside of it. And what concerns me are the fumes and the sounds. You know, I hope that they succeed at Dunkin' Donuts more than they do now. They'll lower our tax rate.
Does anybody on the board have any issues with the sound or noise here? Any ideas,
Well, I
any
don't-
comments?
I don't think there's anything to suggest that it would be any different than it is now, would be my opinion on it. To drive through there now, it's gonna be a drive-through there when this is done. It's 10 feet closer to this gentleman's property. But there was, I mean, he's not even right next door to it. There was another property, obviously the house that got knocked down, so. I'm not sure your tenants are really, they're not right on top of Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, they're a whole lot away.
You don't need that, sound is a major thing in fumes. And it's not me saying that, it's
I certainly don't
everybody.
think, I just as a comment to the board, do you think the traffic going by at higher speeds and the quantity of cars that go by are any bigger of a problem or less of a problem than what's been existing, what is now? I mean, I don't.
Well, I think the traffic flow, I mean, I've been talking about that, it seems like this is gonna do something to mitigate that. I mean, that's not noise per se, but that's, you know, when you weigh out the whole, you know, the entire project, what's the benefit, you know, versus certain problems? You know, I think you take it as a whole, that's one way
Cars
to
will go
look at
through
it.
quicker.
I also think that the retaining wall and, you know, the shrubs and the trees, I mean, I've seen other projects where that is what you do, okay, for noise, that is noise mitigation. So, I don't, you know, I don't think, you know, I could tell from, you know, that kind of study hasn't been done, but you say it will, you don't know that it will, you don't have any actual study proving that, right? That's just your
Just
judgment.
ask anybody that's in that business and they'll tell you without even looking at it.
Well, but that-
The more that it runs, the more fumes that you have. And not everybody leaves their car the way they should be. A lot of them put pipes on them and you hear them going through there now.
Well, there's nothing you do about that, and I do
Well,
think that.
somebody could if they could, please.
Can I speak,
no.
please?
Yes, I'll
I-
keep
you know,
quiet.
I do think that the retaining wall and the shrubs, and maybe they can be beefed up in some fashion, but that is what that is for in part, and it's also for aesthetics. So, you know, I think you're making some kind of prediction, but you don't have any actual data to back that up.
Well, then the town should run a test to find out about this.
I don't know how that's gonna be done. And,
I think your tenants are gonna be happy with the new setup.
Yeah, and
Will you guarantee me that?
No.
I know that. Nobody can. I wouldn't. That's the reason I asked that. You're intelligent. But basically boils down to the fact that asking to keep the noise down and fumes away from an apartment house is not an unreasonable thing.
it's not, but I'm sorry, I would have to say that this project, this layout is certainly just like many of the other properties we have around here and everywhere else where residential properties are that close, and there's just no issue, there's no concern about that. And so, I personally, I don't feel that this is a major concern or anything more to mitigate than what the shrubs, the trees, the wall and the fencing show right now. I think that's a reasonable amount of, and that's my opinion. I'm not an expert, I'm not an engineer, but I don't feel this site plan warrants, that type of engineering. If you would like to do that, you're certainly, at bay to do that yourself.
I can't. I don't own the property.
You can hire an engineer to do a study if you want on anything you want, so,
You can't go on their property unless they want you there.
okay. So, anyways,
well, yeah.
I think I'm
What
gonna
would you
close the point,
prefer?
excuse me, Arthur, thank you, I think at this point, I think we've talked about the sound and the fumes enough. I don't think it's a concern. Does anybody else on this board wanna continue to talk about it? Or feel
Well,
it's a
my only
concern?
question-
Go ahead, go ahead.
Was what do you want to happen?
I'd like to, I'd rather have something put in there that will resist fumes and stuff coming through. Plants like that. I don't think that it's unreasonable that you do a study to see what's really gonna happen here. Because when you put it in, that's a major problem then.
Well, you don't know that.
That's true, I don't.
I think the point is
But,
taken.
no,
All right.
but neither do you folks know what's gonna happen. But I have occupancy of the property by owning it. I think that I'm not unreasonable in asking that something like that happens.
Sir, your point is very well taken, as Attorney Morris just stated, I think that's an excellent way to take it. I think that this time the board just doesn't feel like there's any more information we need to see if this is a detrimental problem to the public, okay? And as the zoning board, that is our charge, that is our charter, but as a group, we do not feel that noise or fumes are a problem with this site plan as it's proposed, so we're not gonna discuss or go further into those things. I do wanna just talk about this right of way that you mentioned, okay? I think that's one of the things. And so I'd like to find out from you just a little bit more, that right of way, is that a right of way that goes out to the Fairview Avenue Road? Is
Yes.
that what you're talking about? And where does that right of way go, when it comes off of Fairview Ave, where does it go to?
it goes on a Fairview valve to go up and into the main drag. And it goes right across all of the property there, and it stops at the end of the property that I own.
So it goes through your property basically
Yes, yeah.
onto the opposite side of the Dunkin' Donuts, you're saying? Just so I understand correctly? Okay, do
There's no
we,
right of way there.
There is.
No, there
It's
isn't.
it's been an existing one
No, it isn't.
forever.
okay, so I guess I'll look to you two gentlemen, it's gotta be on your deed and title, correct?
That's right.
Okay,
It's been an
does
ongoing,
anybody?
it's been an ongoing
Sir,
use
I
forever.
understand, sir, excuse me, I'm just discussing this right now, so legally, it has to be on your deed and title, okay, of the property to have that right away. I'm not saying there wasn't one there before, or one that was may agreed upon, and I'm not saying there isn't a legal right of way there now, cause I don't know, I don't have the title in front of me. So I would just request from these gentlemen to provide a copy of the title, is that something you folks could do? And if there's no right of way on your property, then it's a moot point, okay? Is that fair enough to you?
Mr. Chair, their deed does not reflect the presence of a right-of-way.
Okay.
We did discuss that on the record,
Yeah,
Did we?
Dick Williams brought it up.
Oh,
And he
okay.
had gone through the town clerk's office and couldn't find anything, just recollected it from his memory,
Dick did.
yes. I
Alright, so
believe we have
this
that in the
this
minutes.
title has been looked at?
Yeah, and I believe we have it in the minutes.
Terrific, thank you very much, I'm sorry, I didn't recall that.
It's been continuously in use forever.
So you're saying it's some kind of prescriptive right of way?
Yeah. And essentially what happened is they all got together and put that in. As a matter of fact, Bigelow went and redid it when I was a kid. I sat there and watched them do it. They made it wider. He did a lot of building in the area.
So, I'll-
not to get all legal, but
Yeah, you'd
it would
have
have
to
to be,
prove
it would have to be used adversely. In other words, it'd have to be used for, I think, 22 years is the number, and it'd have to be used adversely to the property owner. So the property owner would have had to know that it was being used for a right of way, and the property owner would have had to objected to it through that entire period.
They never did.
Which is
He-
why
he
there's
was-
no right of way by,
Bigelow was developing the area, and he told me, I was a little kid and curious, and a couple of other kids, and he told us about it. Essentially, what happened is they all got together and did that.
but the reason, because no one objected to it, there wouldn't be any claim to a right of way by adverse possession.
Yeah.
Adverse possession is gained by something being done adversely to the property owner, and
What's happened is they've tried to prevent use of the property, and we haven't let that happen. It's been ongoing forever.
Alright.
I'll have no, if,
I'm satisfied that there's no right of way.
yeah.
okay, so the only thing I'd say to you on this, just to close this point out with you, sir, is that if you can find something on the title that says there is a right of way there, bring it to the next meeting, by all means. Okay, we'll consider it, but at this time, after the research the town has done, in this discussion here, I just,
But if you asked anybody in town that's been here any length of time, they would all tell you that it's been an ongoing thing forever.
okay, maybe
So
so.
how can it not be usable? It is usable.
That's a right you would have to assert, and you'd have to probably do it with an attorney.
Yeah.
You know, the burden would be on you.
No, I don't do attorney work, cause I'm not an attorney.
Well, I'm saying
I
you
was
would,
Nelson.
hire- you'd have to
it'd be
hire.
a claim you would have to make and prove.
I have an attorney, so.
Well, I'm saying that would have to be proved in effect in a court if you were gonna contest the situation. That's, this kind of, right away, you have to prove all the elements of either adverse possession, it may be the term, it could also be some kind of prescriptive right, but those things are all a matter of fact and law, if
I
it was,
understand that,
but the burden would be on you to prove that up. And I'm just saying, I mean, this isn't, you don't have, it's not on a deed, it's not on a title, you're simply making a claim.
It's been an existing use forever.
You have to prove that, and you gotta, there's three different elements, you'd have to go, it's gonna be up to you about what you wanna do about that.
We're not the court to prove that, there's another court.
I'm not asking you to do that. What I'm
We thought you were.
what I'm
Well, you keep
concerned.
saying it to us. We
What I'm
thought you were.
concerned about is the pollution and the noise. That's what I'm concerned about.
Alright,
That's
we
different
closed
than the
that point, the board has closed that point. I think we're gonna close the right-of-way point.
Which is on there.
Oh, yeah, Butch, go ahead,
I was
please.
just gonna say, I mean, I understand your concerns, and I mean, I've been on the board for a while now, but this process has been going on for a long time, and there's been public meeting after public meeting on this, correct? And I'm trying to understand why these types of points are coming out now after all this work has been done. Again, this was before I started here. But it seems like this was stuff that we've addressed or has been addressed somewhat in the past during this process. You know, and again, with public meetings, we get this far into the project and these come up and it's like, I guess I don't understand that when it should have been brought up probably a long time ago when the project was just coming out and it's never
What
been a
happened
secret.
is I didn't get anything about it. They put it to a mailbox, which is supposed to go to my mailbox, and they didn't do that. They put it in the mailbox on the property. I don't even have a place on that for me because I use my personal stuff in a box at the main
Okay,
post.
alright, so,
So I just recently found out about it.
okay, that's fine, and where we're at right now, let's wrap that up. Okay, and as far as the stormwater management goes, Patrick, I'd just like to ask you a question, as you extend this parking lot backwards, does the point of all the asphalt become further back, and is there less water going back towards the wetland area? Or is there more, or is it equal?
Well, Mr. Chair, we are expanding the impervious area, which requires that we make improvements to the stormwater management system.
Okay.
So right now, there are a couple of catch basins here that just discharge out a pipe in the back into the wetland.
What drawing are you on there, Patrick?
C3.
C3.
So what we're proposing to do is tie those existing catch basins plus a couple of new catch basins into a system here that will treat the stormwater and put it into an underground system that will allow it to infiltrate and to mitigate the peak rate of flow during the larger storms. So say the first 3 inches of rainfall will go completely into the system, soak into the ground over time. And then the larger storms, the target that we're required to meet is not to increase the peak rate of flow from that impervious area. So that will come under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. We have filed a notice of intent. We have a continued public hearing next week with the commission to continue our discussion on that point. We did go and do some additional testing, which the neighbor pointed out, because we were required to move that system outside of the 50-foot buffer zone from the wetland.
Yep.
Originally, we had it placed
Down low there.
down low where it would be in the sort of the existing gravel fill section there. They were forced to move that uphill into the outside of the 50 feet, which puts it right in this dark rectangle here underneath the parking and the fill that we're placing. And then the discharge point here, we originally had that discharge point out here. Now we're pulling it into the base of where we're placing the fill. And then the roof drainage now runs onto the parking lot and is collected into the catch basins. So part of this will be caught in this crushed stone strip here, and then it will run off and it goes to the catch basin.
Ultimately gets to the catch
So,
basin.
the smaller rain events can all soak into the ground.
Yeah.
Before it's, running off directly to the driveway. And that's the intent, behind the Mass DEP stormwater standards. Mitigate the peak flow.
Sure.
Infiltrate a certain amount, that they prescribe the amount, we're exceeding those requirements. And then, not increase the peak rate of flow. We have to provide a certain removal efficiency for the total suspended solids. That's where that treatment device comes in. That will require annual maintenance, just as catch basins do. It's got to be cleaned out on an annual basis with a pump truck. And then the underground system would have to be inspected once a year, just to make sure it's working properly. So we have an O&M program that will be in place for that.
So are you saying that system is gonna be reviewed by the Conservation Commission shortly?
Because that's within the 100-foot buffer zone, and the stormwater is under the Conservation
Will that be
Commission's.
a public hearing?
Yes, sir. It was an advertised public hearing. It's continued until next week.
Well, sir, that might be the venue to take up the drainage issue.
And Kevin Quinn will still look at the calculations too to make sure his engineering, which I'm sure, it will, the numbers line up. And the conservation will make sure they meet their
That's
requirements.
next Tuesday evening.
Where is that, right here?
I believe it's in this room.
Same,
Same room, okay.
Alright, so that's to be continued and reviewed.
And when is that?
next Tuesday at 6.
Next Tuesday? Thank you.
Okay. And so at this time, is there anything else? I believe that's everything you had, sir? As far as questions and concerns?
Well, I don't really think that they've been addressed properly, and I'm less than satisfied. But you know, you've been decent to me for the most part, but I think that anybody that comes into a public hearing like this should be able to talk if they're not, if they're not a nasty person and they're not getting aggressive. And you took it upon yourself to stop that.
I don't believe I took it upon myself to start that, I just didn't like the way you were treating me, sir. So I just wanted to slow you down.
I don't think you have the right to do that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. I don't care what you think. I'm a man,
I
and I
know
don't
you
like
don't
to, I
care.
don't like you to be talked to that way, and when somebody does that to me, I don't care if I'm on the street, in a town meeting, or in my home, or a public place. I'm gonna tell you the way I feel, and I'm gonna stand up for myself. And if you have a problem with that, well, that's just your problem, I'm sorry. But at this time, we're gonna close the
No,
public hearing.
it's the world's problem.
Well, so be it. Do you have any other questions or concerns?
I don't think that you're capable of doing what you're doing here.
Well, that's a legitimate
And
concern, but
you're not
point
taking
noted.
adequate tests to make sure that everything's gonna be right. You don't care about emissions, you don't care about noise. And it's not good.
Okay, at this time, we're gonna close the public, portion of this, hearing right now. And, just to kind of recap, I think at this point, just kind of one final quick cleanup of this plan, should be able to get everything all tidied up now, right? Put that little pedestrian walking area in, a little bit of signage.
And move the employee parking.
Yeah, and just kind of, and identify the employee parking and whatnot, in the, in the common public parking, obviously, you can just leave it as is. Any other questions or concerns for them to address and come back with the final, should be able to this should be the final set at this point, right?
Yeah.
I would think so unless the Conservation Commission brings up any other issues.
Okay. Alright, and that's next week. So, just looking forward here, how much time after the Conservation Commission, I know you don't really know what they're gonna throw at you, but, worst case scenario, how much time would you need to deal with that and then compile everything and kinda look for another date from us?
Well, I think, Mr. Chair, we've answered all the concerns of the Conservation Commission point by point with this plan revision, and they're just waiting to see what Mr. Quinn has to say about it.
Okay.
I think they've continued the hearing to wait for that review so they can make their decision.
So are you saying you're pretty close to a decision next week, this is coming down the
I
line?
think we are. I don't know if the.
Yeah, I know there's no
Commission's in agreement,
guarantees, you
but-
never know, sure, okay. Alright, so not expecting any serious ramifications here from the Concom. How much time would you need just to resubmit a final set, and that's what we'll sign off on, or that's what we'd make a judgment on, I guess? Yeah, get it to a
Oh,
vote.
I'd just like to wait until after that meeting, just in case.
Okay. So how do we continue this?
Do we wanna set a tentative date? So we have something on the books, and then if you're not ready to go, we can have the board convene to continue it. Again, it's completely up to you. You do have to continue to a date certain.
Yeah.
It just depends on how far you wanna push it out.
Again, Patrick, not to put you on the spot, but it's up to you, how much time you need, and I know you're not sure, but just
No,
pick
it's,
a safe time.
Mr. Chair, the things you've asked us to do, we could do tomorrow, but
Yeah.
I wanna wait until at least after the Conservation.
We have to
Commission
pick a
meeting.
date tonight though, Patrick.
July 31st. Would that be okay?
Sure.
That's a Wednesday, so that would be 2 weeks after the Conservation Commission meeting. Are you guys available on that date?
When was that?
July
31st.
31st?
I'm
Wednesday the
not.
31st? You're not, okay. So then the following week would be the 7th, August 7th, I think? Following Wednesday?
Yeah, August 7th.
I'm around.
Available.
Yeah, it's good for me. Does that work for Matt and Patrick? Is that?
I'm not here August 7th?
August
No.
7th? No.
Oh, yeah. I'm out of the country, yeah.
What's that?
You can.
Yeah, I mean, are you comfortable with Patrick
Yeah,
representing you?
okay.
And, I don't, if that's worse.
Someone else can attend too, from representative ownership.
Just in case
Yep.
you have to commit to something.
Alright, so let's go with the August 7th date.
Okay, so I just
Tentatively,
need a
and,
motion.
Okay, so do we have a motion to continue to August 7th?
I will make that motion to continue to August.
Jacob, have a second, Butch second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passes, no nays, and just make another motion to continue this.
No, you guys have to reorganize first before we end the meeting.
Okay, that's
Chair,
right.
vice chair, clerk.
Okay, so this is.
But this part is done.
This hearing, this is
Yes.
closed now?
Yep, it's
Okay.
continued, we're good on
And
this
we just got
part.
some house cleaning business to do. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Tamika.
You're welcome.
Patrick, Matthew, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I forget your name, sir, but thank you very much for your comments. Sorry we couldn't have been more directive for you.
You made a terrible mistake. You could have stopped the problem.
Thank you. So are we voting on new members, is that what, or voting on,
So you guys just have to decide who you would like to be chair, vice chair, and clerk for this next fiscal year.
gotcha.
So somebody just has to make a motion to nominate somebody for each of those positions.
I'm nominating Chris for chair.
And who's the vice chair now?
Bob.
Nominate Bob.
We'll do Chris first. So I second the nomination for Chris Senical as chair.
All in favor? Aye.
Reluctant.
Sure someone doesn't wanna do this thing? Just feel like one test drive next meeting? Alright, and I'll make a motion to appoint Bob Paulson as the vice chair.
I'll second.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, no nays.
And what's the other position?
The other is clerk.
Clerk. Do we have a clerk now?
I don't remember who it is, but that person essentially steps in if you didn't have a me, but
Yeah.
with any luck,
we
I'll
have
be
you.
around and you won't have to worry about it, so.
I'll have you. Alright, so anybody wanna be a clerk?
I don't.
I am a clerk at the Board of Health.
Technically, I don't know that you can because you're
I
an
can't, 'cause I'm an
alternate
alternate.
member. Should we volunteer Dave? He's not
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
I think that's a
not
wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Alright, so somebody make a motion for that.
That's
I
good.
nominate Dave
Alright,
Lester.
we have a motion on the table. Do we have it seconded? Seconded by Bob, alright? All in favor? Aye. No nays, correct? No nays, alright.
I can't wait to tell him.
So Dave,
I'll nominate myself for the alternate.
I'm gonna miss the next meeting just so he can get some practice.
Oh, man.
that's great.
And then, other than that, you guys are good if you want to adjourn.
Okay, have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Alright, second?
Second.
Bob, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.